You're listening to the Woman of Value podcast. You are about to hear the story of a woman who is following her dreams and passions and creating positive change in the world.
I was trying to understand how to love myself and feel at home in the world and not in a state of terror or that I didn't belong, really.
My guest today is Dr. Diana Kirschner. She is a psychologist, she's a love specialist, and she has been on a lot of TV shows. She has appeared regularly on The Today Show. She also stars in an Amazon Prime TV show, Love in 90 Days, Finding Your Own True Love. Her smash bestseller, Love in 90 Days, is out in its 10th anniversary edition. Her work has been featured in the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. And through her books and acclaimed Love Mentor coaching team, Dr. Diana has helped tens of thousands of women all over the world to create greater self-love and lasting, passionate soulmate relationships. And we're going to be talking about how to find that deep self-love today. So welcome to the show, Diana.
Thank you so much, Sandy. I'm so excited to be with you.
I'm excited to have you here and to have you back, as you've been on the last First Date Radio podcast. And thank you for agreeing to come back here, because I know you have so much to share about finding your value.
Oh, yes. I mean, I really think that is the key to everything. Having a really great soulmate relationship, being able to do the work that expresses who you really are in the world. You know, your own unique mission. I mean, it's really at the core, really at the core.
Yes, it's at the core, and it's what people struggle with so much. So I hope
yeah.
that by the end of this episode, I hope that women will be much more able to access that unique part of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start there with what woman of value means to you.
Well, woman of value, what that means is that you're in a state of being in love with yourself, that you feel very pleased about yourself. You appreciate yourself. You respect yourself, which is so important. You know, you can't control what anybody else does out there, but you can do things that you really respect. And you are in a state of deservedness and gratitude. Now, when you're in a state of deservedness and gratitude, all of the universe shifts to to give you what you want in your secret heart of hearts. That's what I really believe.
Yes, I like it. Great description of woman of value. So I know that you didn't always have a tremendous sense of self. And so if you can, and that's what makes you so approachable, likable, and believable, because you have come so far in your own life. So if you can take us through that aha moment when you realized that you needed to make a change and claim your value.
Well, you know, I was born the fifth daughter to an Italian family that only wanted boys. And when I was born, my father didn't even come to the hospital to see me, said another girl, not interested, you know. My mom really didn't want me. And I grew up feeling terrible. Like it was a terrible thing that I was born, actually. I used to walk outside the front sidewalk of my parents' house and I would cry. And the reason I was crying is because they had me, that I felt sorry for them for having me. And most of the attention I got was about, you know, not being capable, like not being able to do things. And I was called stupid and inept and everything. And so I had a terrible sense of self. I mean, and I was socially phobic to the point of being mute for a lot of my childhood into adolescence and even affecting early adulthood. Because I didn't feel, well, I really didn't feel safe around people. I had also a very chaotic alcoholic family system growing up.
Mm.
And it was really out of rejection that I began my journey, because I of course played that out with dating guys, you know, and at one point it was another rejection. I was a teenager, and I was like, you know, I feel so terrible and unworthy of love, and like I don't love myself, and I have to do something. I remember I was on my bed crying for days. I was on my bed, I couldn't eat, and I was crying for days. I said, there has to be something where I could learn to love myself. There has to be. And I actually got up and went to the library. In those days, you wouldn't have Google. So I went to the library, the actual library, and I got out every book I could about love, self-love, and self-esteem. And I started reading and reading and reading and reading and reading and reading, because I just didn't know what else to do, you know. But it started me on a journey. And the journey led me to get a master's degree in psychology, led me to get a PhD in psychology. I was trying to understand how to love myself and feel at home in the world, and not in a state of terror, or that I didn't belong, really, you know. So, you know, and that, I mean, that was my turning point, that business of the dark night of the soul, you know. Although the thing that really, really ultimately helped me was I met a new parent, basically. I mean, I call it a fairy godmother. It was a man, but I was on my journey, and he appeared and said, you know, I can help you. And he became like a good mother father to me. And I thought he was insane, because why would anybody be interested in me? Why would anybody want to invest attention in me? You know, I really thought he was insane at that time. I mean, that was the level of my self-esteem.
Was he your therapist, a teacher?
Oh, he was, well, he was a coach, a mentor, a coach. Um, so there was nothing romantic. There was nothing physical at all in it. I mean, he was like a good mother, father, basically. And I remember he used to say, you're smart. Like, I always felt stupid, you know. You're smart, you know, this is why you're able to go to school and learn things. And you see what you're doing? That means you're smart.
Yeah, you're getting a PhD, girl.
And not feeling smart. And which you can do, you know, sometimes in your life, you get yourself in positions, but you feel like such an imposter. You feel totally like an imposter. And I felt totally like an imposter. Like any minute somebody was going to find out that I was stupid and incompetent. And any minute, I was a wreck, internally a wreck. I mean, internally a wreck. But he was saying, you're really smart, and you know, someday you may be one of the foremost psychologists in America. I'm like, what? What is he talking about?
What drugs is he taking?
Yes, exactly. I mean, I wanted to be a psychologist. I didn't think I was good enough to be a psychologist at that time. You know, it was wanting to work on my PhD, and he envisioned it. You know, he envisioned what I call my diamond self. I call this the high value diamond self identity. And he envisioned it. He could see it. And he kept seeing it. He kept seeing it. And I was just like, little by little by little by little, that seeped into me. That actually seeped into me.
Yeah.
I mean, I never could be doing what I'm doing right this second, talking to you right this second, without having had a corrective reparenting experience.
Wow. And so much of your story, as horrific as it is, and I didn't go through what you went through, but I had a very similar muteness in my life where I was afraid to talk for a
Wow.
long time. I was taken to a therapist because they thought something was wrong with me when I was
Right.
little.
Right.
And I realize now that it was fear of rejection. It was fear of judgment that kept me quiet because I didn't want to be criticized. And so I also believed I was stupid.
Wow.
But I had this thing figured out that if I didn't share my intelligence, nobody would ever know if I was smart or not. So I had it all figured out. So if I didn't try too hard, then I couldn't fail. And I
Yes,
lived in that,
yes, yes, I had
right?
that one too.
So that whole imposter thing, and you know, it's so interesting though that we reject ourselves, and that it takes sometimes somebody else seeing the magnificence of us, which you do now in your coaching, I do in my coaching, because it comes from such a deep place inside where it's like you can't bear the thought of people living in this diminished state.
Yes, 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 yes. And that is your mission. You have the same mission. That is your mission. And it calls to you so profoundly.
Yeah. So you went from self-loathing and rejection and muteness and feeling like an imposter, which, by the way, as you probably know, very high achieving women are the ones with the most severe imposter complex and imposter syndrome, because it's part of the whole perfectionist and I have to get it right. And, you know, and it plagues so many of us, unfortunately. And it's actually a good thing, I think, because it keeps you honest. It keeps you working towards authenticity and really showing up in your highest self. So if you could share with our audience some of the steps that you took, because you said step by step, little by little, what are some of the
Mhm.
ways that it did start to seep into you?
Well, first of all, I kept interacting with my fairy godmother father. I didn't run away screaming, which I kind of wanted to do. But I kept interacting with him, right? Even though sometimes it's actually painful to have somebody actually acknowledge you. I mean, I remember having interactions with him where I would just be crying, and it just brings up some of that early pain. And then I developed an actual nickname for my high value empowered diamond self. And I developed the name. You don't have to just live your life according to the way someone else has named you. You can name yourself based on your own unique talents and quirks and abilities and who you really are meant to be in the world. And only you can feel that. No one else can really feel that. Only you can feel that pull, that longing, that mission of the heart. And I gave myself a diamond self name, and the diamond self name is the radiant beacon of loving guidance.
That's pretty diamond right there.
Yeah. When I gave myself that name, I couldn't tell anybody.
Mm,
I was so embarrassed and ashamed. I thought, this is way too positive. this is this is this is not me. This is way too positive, way too much light. I mean, I don't know. And I couldn't tell anyone. I was so embarrassed. I would write it down and I would look at it and was like, oh, I want to be that. I want to be that. I want to be that. But I wouldn't tell anyone. And little by little by little, I lived into the name. And what I did was I faced every fear. I actually faced every fear. And of course, the number one fear was talking. it was talking, So I practiced talking to one person and two people and three people. And then I went on the local Philadelphia. I lived in Philadelphia at that time, the local Philadelphia TV station, whereupon I had a massive anxiety attack in the green room. I was like, I have nothing to say, nothing to say, nothing to say, but I managed to eke out something. And for some reason, I wound up talking to larger and larger groups. I actually appeared on Oprah at one point. It was on Phil Donahue in those days. And then I wound up on the Today Show many times. And let me tell you, facing that fear, and on a larger and larger and larger scale, that really frees you. That really, really frees you, I mean, now I can talk to anybody. Once you've done that.
Yeah. Well, that's huge. It's such a big leap from being mute to being on a stage where everybody can see you. You're so visible. And I had a guest, Nina Manelson, who talked about having a visibility hangover, which I love that term.
Yes.
It's like, oh my God, I'm so visible. I shouldn't have said that. Maybe I'm not important enough. How could I? Who am I? And, and so it's really. So do you still get that? Do you still feel that you have to kind of process through that?
I had that for decades. Like, oh my God, you were stupid on there. You looked fat. You said the most ridiculous thing. Look at that. You said too many uhs. I mean, I would I had that for decades.
Yeah.
However, it's very interesting what's happening to me now, Sandy.
Yeah.
I never have it.
That's awesome.
I honestly, I never have it. I do Facebook Live every week, and I just do it straight with one. It's one take. There's I don't edit it at all, and I just let it run. And after the live, it's posted. But if I look at any of my Facebook Lives, I laugh with delight. I feel like actually crying telling you this.
Oh.
I don't actually talk about this, but I can look at it and actually think it's good.
That's wonderful.
Just actually, that is, I think, the biggest accomplishment of my life. I really do believe that.
Wow.
It's such a 180 degrees.
Yeah. Wow.
180 degrees, difference.
Yeah. To look at it and say, this is good.
Yeah.
Not criticizing anymore.
Yeah. But, I've been blessed to live my mission for decades, so it's a lot easier. I mean, I've helped tens of thousands actually millions, really, of mainly women, to live their high value diamond self-identities. And when you're able to roll out your mission, it's such a blessing. It's just such an incredible blessing, as you well know, as you've been doing. Yeah. It's such a blessing, and everything that you put out there comes back to you. It all comes back.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially when you tell the truth, when you show up authentically like you do.
Mm-hmm.
As you were saying that it's good, I was thinking of the story of creation in the Bible.
Wow.
And it just popped in my head, and I'm not so religious anymore, but I grew up with a lot of religion and learning the creation story. And at the end of every day of creation, God says, and it was good. And on Tuesdays, he said it twice. So it never really sunk into me until now. Like, when you create something magnificent and you can say, and it was good, there's such incredible satisfaction in knowing that I accept that I showed up. I did my best. I'm not criticizing.
Mm-hmm. 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 Well, I believe that we're each one of us fragments of the divine. that we are just a special expression of the divine. And so we're actually creating realities. We're creating our own realities. And that is the whole question of, are you going to flow with the divine nature of your reality? Acknowledge that it is divine, acknowledge that it is good, allow yourself to do that. That is the big question of your life.
Yeah, it took me a long time to realize that too. It was actually in coaching school when I was at one of the first sessions and they read the Marianne Williamson poem. And there's a part that says, "Who are you to shrink?" And I don't remember all the words, but it's like, who are you to not show up? Who are you not to shine your light? And
Yeah.
it's actually a disservice to not show up, and so many of us are diminished. We want to
Yeah.
hide, we don't want to bother people. And the people I love hanging around with are the people who are showing up, the people who shine their light, because there's so much more to them. There's that authentic self. And you can connect, your heart connects to those people.
It's so true. It's so true. Women are usually afraid of making other women feel bad. So they don't want to shine too much. They don't want to have their glow too much coming out, their success, uh, but there is a process called vicariousness. And through vicariousness, when you shine, other people feel like they can shine. They feel like, oh, if you can do it, I can do it. So you're giving permission. You're giving permission to other people to be their best selves by you being your best self.
Exactly.
You're not doing anybody a favor by playing small.
No, you are not. And there's this, and I love that you're bringing up how women in particular feel like they have to shrink to make other people feel comfortable. And it's actually the opposite, like you said. And it's not that there's just a finite amount of stuff in the world that if I take it, that means you can't have it. There's
Right.
actually this infinite amount of beauty, wealth, all of it is out there. And, if you take it, it doesn't diminish what somebody else has.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's so important. And in fact, this is like a key in our Love Mentor coaching program, is the key of empowering women to have their high value diamond self expressed. They just love it, and they just go crazy with all these wonderful names, that are so inspiring. I love to hear their names myself. It helps me. Again, it's the vicariousness. So they're, Amazing Grace, Vivacious Vixen, Saucy Minx, Beloved Mighty Isis, Resilient Chosen Goddess of the Light, Awakening Guide to the Truth and Transformation.
Love it. So for people who are listening in and thinking, oh my God, that's just too big. That's just too big. Like I could never do that. What do you have to say to them?
Well, been there, felt that. I've been there, felt that. And, if you just allow yourself for a few minutes each day to play with this kind of thing, you'll be shocked at what can happen. And also, if you're coming from a lot of neglect, abandonment, trauma, abuse, etc., that's where you really want to consider having a fairy godmother person enter your life, a reparental agent, and who is going to love on you, is going to appreciate you, going to validate you, going to help you envision who you could be, right? And constructively set limits on your Bubba mindset about yourself. I remember when I would say, oh, I'm a piece of crap, to my fairy godmother coach, and he would say, stop. Oh, stop.
Well, you got to interrupt the pattern. You have to interrupt the pattern.
Yeah. So, that is something very potent That is something very, very potent, because sometimes you can't pull yourself up by your own bootstraps,
No.
especially if you've been very betrayed or you've been very neglected,
Yeah.
right? And so many of us have. If you've been very abused, because your brain is in PTSD, it's in post-traumatic stress disorder. So your brain is replaying the trauma. The brain keeps replaying whatever that trauma is. And so your will has a harder time really kind of breaking that pattern, putting a dent in it or interrupting it or changing it. So I think it's really wonderful and a key to have that kind of input. That's why, I created my whole global coaching program. I have these amazing love mentor, fairy godmother type coaches who reparent people. And we've done tens of thousands of sessions all around the world, because I wanted to pay it forward. I wanted everyone to have an experience of being able to have the appreciation, the validation, the feeling of what it's like to be noticed, the feeling of what it's like to have your diamond self discovered. It's so precious.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's interesting is there are very few love coaches who created a business the way you did.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't just work by yourself. You trained other people in your method so that you could be much bigger. And you
Yes.
wrote a book and you were on TV. So every single thing you've done has had an influence on more people than by playing small. So tell us the thinking behind how you built this business.
Well, this what's very interesting. This business was kind of organically handed to me, I swear, through the divine. I was following what made me feel good. I wrote Love in 90 Days 10 years ago. It's just now come out in its 10th anniversary updated edition. But I wrote this book, and it's very much about self-love and the diamond self-work, as well as finding soulmate love that mirrors that inner love. And so what happened was it became a bestseller, and people were asking me to coach them, and I needed to clone myself. And I had had a lot of experience training therapists, actually, because in my previous life as a therapist, I had a postgraduate training institute, and I used to train therapists. So it's very easy for me to train coaches and therapists. So I hand selected some people who I would want to go to. That was my criteria. It was like, if I want to go to for help. In fact, I did use one of them to do my PBS show. I used one of my coaches to coach me to do my PBS show, because that was so difficult. When you do your own PBS show for an hour, it's so challenging. You have to stay in your lines. You have to watch a teleprompter, make it natural, tell jokes, deliver the payoff line into the face camera, and then make contact with every section of the audience. And watch
all of that. That's all.
and watch the clock.
Wow.
So when they first told me that, I had an anxiety attack, and I immediately reverted back to my old anxiety. And I used one of these coaches, and I worked with her in the green room for hours until the only thing that was left of me was the radiant beacon of love and guidance. The only thing. And then I went out there, and of course it was magic.
It was so magical. I just watched it again recently, and it was my first exposure to you. And it was before I think I even got into this business, and I thought, oh my God, this woman is so smart, and she's saying it, all that you said was so easy to access, and with humor. And it was just like the idea of dating multiple people at the time, which is something you introduced, was so foreign to me. And now it's so second nature. And my 24-year-old daughter recently said to me, I'm kind of entertaining dating a few men. This has never happened to me before, but it's kind of nice. And I said, yeah, I've been telling you this for years. Because at first my kids were like, oh my God, Mom, you're like a whore,
This is without sex, you guys, though. This is
I
without
know.
a little kissing, little canoodling. Yeah, yeah. No, but that's wonderful. Yeah. Well, that
Yeah.
show is now an Amazon Prime special. It's called
Yeah.
Love in 90 Days. On Amazon Prime. It's free with Amazon Prime. So I'm thrilled, really thrilled.
Yeah, reaching even
Um,
more people.
yeah.
And and that whole visibility thing, I also was petrified to get on a stage. So I can relate to that part of your story as well, because to go from being a person who didn't speak up and who was afraid of being criticized to getting in front of audiences. And then my first stage appearance was a TEDx talk. It was like, bam, and scary, panic attacks, all the same kind of thing. But it's like, it's the why kept being front and center. This is why I'm doing it. I don't want to back down because I will not be able to spread this message. So it's so important to believe in yourself. So you have all these coaches, and you used a coach yourself to, so it works. And
they're amazing people. They're amazing, amazing, amazing people. They're just so they're so gifted and caring and loving.
so it's not easy for a lot of people to take their system and put it down on paper. And
Mm-hmm.
you did that, which is wonderful. And I actually am training somebody right now who's a therapist who only did one-on-one therapy and felt like I'm always trading dollars for hours. And so I worked with her on a group course that she can then take and make it into a product. And then, so it's getting bigger and bigger. And she's
Awesome.
freaking out every step of the way.
Of course.
But it's
when it's new, that's when your anxiety goes up. It's like,
yes, but she keeps thanking me. She says, I'm freaking out and I appreciate you pushing me to get out of my, comfort zone and to rise up to my higher self. So it's just so important. So you've got this program, you've got the book, you've got the shows, you've got all this stuff going on. Are you retiring anytime soon?
It doesn't seem that way. Doesn't seem that way. I don't know. I think the force wants me to keep going.
Good. We need you. We need you in the world. So in the last show you did with me, you shared the exercise for the diamond self. Would you like to share that with our audience?
Of course, of course. Well, would you be the kind of lead in that, and I'll lead you through it?
Sure.
And so that way they'll get all the prompts. Okay, awesome, awesome. Okay, so you guys, I'd like you to close your eyes, and I want you to remember a time you felt lovable, you felt at home in the world, you felt loving, you felt good about who you were. And it may be when you were very little, before there was any wounding. It may be when you were a little bit older, but find a scene where you felt good and you're looking through your own eyes. Good, good. You have it? You have it, Sandy?
Yep.
Awesome, awesome. Now, I want you to look at the colors in that scene, admire the colors, and listen to the sounds in that scene, the beautiful sounds that were there. And also feel the feelings that were in that scene. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And now I want you to make it 5 times better. 5 times better. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Okay, this is your diamond self-identity. And I want you to give it a nickname. Just play full out and give it a nickname with whatever comes to mind. I'll say some names to give you ideas, and you just select one that makes sense for you. Beloved one. Courageous, powerful, successful goddess of the universe. Blessed, beautiful, beloved. Saucy minx. Vivacious Vivian. Sparkalicious midwife of love, fun, and joy. Okay, you have it?
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so I want you to shrink that diamond self down and make it the size of a diamond and put it to your side in your imagery. And I want you to get a memory of when you were feeling bad about yourself. You were feeling less than, you may have felt rejected, abandoned, or incompetent, or frightened, but you felt kind of bad about yourself. I call this the disappointing self-identity. You may have felt like a failure. Yeah, you got that?
Yep.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now take your little diamond off to the side, make it the size of a hand grenade, and throw it into the disappointing self-identity and blow it to smithereens. Good, good, good. Let's do that 5 more times very rapidly. Take that diamond self grenade, throw it into the image of the disappointing self and explode it into smithereens, into nothing. 5 times very rapidly. Good. 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 Okay, now open your eyes. Is that a little harder to get an image of the disappointing self-identity?
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful, beautiful. And now I'd like you to say your diamond self name out loud.
Loving, luscious, laughing one. No, I think it was laughing, luscious, loving one.
Laughing, luscious, loving one. Laughing, luscious, loving one.
Yeah, that's a hard one to say.
I love it. It's very alliterative. Very alliterative. I love that. Luscious.
Laughter.
Really the luscious one.
Yeah, so the laughter came up first. It actually, my son and I have a wonderful relationship, and I feel so at peace and myself with him. And we walk together every day, and we're often laughing hysterically. So,
Wow, Sandy, I'm so impressed.
so
Wow.
the laughter came up for me first, and then it got amplified, and I'm like, oh my God, it's like a big laugh.
Yay, I love it. Well, you guys who are watching at home, please play with this, and you can always add to it and change it or whatever. And we also have a free gift to help you with this too at the end of our time together, which can be very powerful to help you with your diamond self-identity. Because let me tell you, you work on this identity, your life will change.
Yeah.
Your life will change. Your love life, your work life, your inner life. And once you get the name, it's very important to go shopping and buy yourself the clothes that speak to it, the jewelry that speaks to it. It doesn't have to be expensive jewelry, but that reminds you of the, laughing, luscious one, right? Loving one. And you write it down, you put it up in your closet, you put it near your computer, you put it in your drawer. So you go in your drawer to look for a pen and it says laughing, luscious, loving one. I mean, I have it, I put my name everywhere because I wanted it to work for me,
Well, I love your outfit, by the way. I keep looking at that it's very regal. So some people are going to be hearing this on the podcast with just the audio. So I just want to let people know that Dr. Diana is wearing like a purpley, maroony, beautiful, rich, kind of regal looking outfit with a little dog collar with a heart coming out of it, and a beautiful silver necklace with little beads, big beads, actually.
Yeah.
And
This
your
is
hair.
the radiant beacon of loving guidance.
Yes.
Which is great. I mean, it just, the whole thing, what's really interesting is when you surrender into your diamond self, everything becomes easier. I used to go shopping and I would say, I don't know what to buy. I look fat and ugly and everything. I mean, I look terrible in this. I look, and I never knew what to buy. But when I made the radiant beacon of loving guidance, it's like bingo. You're supposed to have the fat, big silver necklace. You're supposed to have the regal purple.
Yeah. And the hair to match. Yeah, years ago when I first started coaching and I hired a coach who saw my diamond self, she was the first one, like your fairy godmother, who said to me, "You're a leader." And I'm like, "What? How can I be a leader? I'm the second child. Second children are never leader." It's just like
Right.
this whole, and I'm a follower, but I'm not a follower. And then we had this image of Fantasia, of me conducting this orchestra but it was playful, and that's who I am. And so
Love that. Love, seriously love that.
yeah, so having someone in your life to do that, which is what I do now for clients, and I see it's like the joy I have raising children. I feel like these are all my children. Do you feel that way with
Yes.
your clients as well?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. They're all our children. I mean, they're so delightful.
Yeah.
It's such a joy. I actually got to go to a wedding of one fairly recently. Uh,
Oh.
it was beautiful. It was at the beach, and it's just stunning. Really
Mm.
beautiful.
Oh, hold on one second. Do you hear that noise?
No.
Okay, it's coming through.
Oh,
I
I did
was,
hear it just then. I did
yeah,
hear it.
I was supposed to speak to somebody at this time and I completely forgot, but that's okay. I'll call them back.
Okay.
Um,
So we can wrap it up. You'll just
yeah, yeah,
wrap
yeah,
it up.
yeah. Yeah, that's the beauty of editing.
Mm-hmm.
So, Diana, what are you creating in the world right now?
Well, I have a new venture that's starting very shortly, lovein90daysuniversity.com, which is an actual online video course that teaches you how to be a Love in 90 Days dating coach. And also, it gives you personal transformation while you take that video course for yourself, because as a coach, who you're being is the big instrument of change, right? So it's a personal growth course and how to be a dating coach. That's at lovein90daysuniversity.com. If anyone's interested, it's not up and right now, but you can sign up on the waiting list if you go there. And I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, that goes with everything else that that you're doing, which is to create an even bigger way to reach more people. And we
Mhm.
need better training for coaches,
Yeah,
honestly.
that's for
And
sure. Because these days anybody can put up a shingle and say that they're a dating coach, and often their only credential is that they managed to get married. I got married, so I can show you how to get married. Well,
right.
everybody's different. You have to really learn how to do that, how to
Yeah.
help other people.
Yeah. And my coach's training really helped me to become a better coach.
Mm-hmm.
It helped me to identify highest self and values and all the things that we need to do in coaching. That if we don't go to the deeper level, we're just putting band-aids on a problem. So
Yes,
I don't.
exactly.
I'm not a band-aid person. I don't think you are either.
No, no.
So Diana, what is your vision for the future? What do you want for yourself and for others?
Well, my vision for the future is being super helpful to millions and millions of people, millions more, you know, and really empowering them to be their diamond selves, to live in a state of self-love, and to change the world out of living in that state so that there's abundance, there's peace, and there's love, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, you're certainly well on your way to that. So we're going to do the lightning round, a couple of quick questions, and then we're going to wrap it up. So fill in the
Okay.
blank. I used to think I wasn't blank enough.
I used to think I wasn't smart enough.
Hmm. What was the number one thing holding you back from becoming a woman of value?
The number one thing holding me back was self-hate.
Yeah. What's a mistake you made that taught you an important life lesson?
I dragged my feet in writing my book, Love in 90 Days, because I felt like I couldn't make a book that was, that inspirational.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, it became a bestseller.
Yeah, look at that. So, dovetailing on that one, what is the best advice you can give to any woman who wants to become more empowered?
The best advice I can give is to find your diamond self identity and live it. Period. End of story. And don't let anyone stop you.
Mm,
And take
unstoppable.
advantage of our free gift too.
Yeah,
I have a
so,
wonderful
and we're going to be linking to that in the show notes. And we'll talk about that in one moment. But actually, why don't we talk about it now, and then I'll ask you the last question.
Sure. You know, the really exciting thing is that you guys can have a session with one of my fairy godmother love mentor coaches. It's a 40-minute session by phone or Skype. And you can talk about your diamond self-identity or anything else that's on your mind. They deal with all kinds of issues. And all you need to do is go to loveiin90days.com. That's loveiin90days.com. Click on the coaching tab. And here's the important part. When you fill out the form there, put in Sandy sent me. You must put in Sandy sent me in order to get your free session, because sometimes we have to turn people away. Today I had to turn away a few people because we have too many requests. But if you put Sandy sent me in there, you will get your free session.
Awesome. It's a beautiful offer. Take her up on it. And now, Diana, we have our final question, the legacy question. How would you like to be remembered?
I would like to be remembered as helping to create love in the world.
Beautiful. Well, you've done it, you're doing it, and you will continue to do it. And I thank you for being such a beautiful model for what I believe a woman of value truly is and how she can live her best life.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Right back at you. Right back at you. Thank you so much.